Hey, I'm Travis.
And I'm Adele.
And we are The Noble Marriage. We hope that through our channel, you will be inspired and motivated so that your marriage will be all that God created it to be. Hey, and welcome back to Coffee and Conversations. Today, we're talking about the top 3 ways to rebuild trust in your marriage.
Yeah, you know, inside a relationship, there are all kinds of ways to break trust. You know, it could be around financial decisions and purchases. It can be around betrayal. It could be around hurtful words that your spouse has spoken to you that broke your trust. There are all kinds of ways that broken trust happens inside of a marriage.
Yeah, and so let's talk about how do we rebuild that trust. And number one way to rebuild trust is my actions need to line up with my words.
Yeah.
If I have a way that I'm committed to being, and I say that I'm going to do something, then my actions need to align with that.
Right.
And if they don't, then it gives you the ability to not trust. It just immediately takes away the ability for you to trust.
Not only does it take away from the trust we're trying to build, it's like a negative in the trust.
Yeah.
So you're actually further back than where we were when your actions don't line up with your words. And, you know, it's really easy to say, I'm not going to do this again, or I'll never say that again to you, or I promise I'll stop spending. And then you go do it, your spouse is going to have a hard time trusting you. Yeah. And so it's really important that if you say that you're committed to something, like I am committed to not doing that, that you actually have actions that line up with that. So important.
I'm committed to being faithful to you. I have been unfaithful to you, and I'm committed to being faithful. And so I have made that commitment to you of what I'm going to do. And so my actions need to line up with that. And that has everything to do with the way I live my entire life all the time. Each little bitty choice can set me off into another direction of not lining up with who I'm committed to being. Right. And so I need to make choices that really line up with who that is.
I think it's also important to say that perception is important. Because if I am perceiving that something he is doing is not lining up with what he said, for example, our broken trust is around betrayal. And one of the things that we have agreed on is that he will not be alone in a room with opposite sex. If I walk into a room and he's having a conversation with another woman, there's a question mark that happens. And he may not be doing anything wrong, and it may have just ended up happening. But that's what we're talking about. Perception is the same thing, because if I am perceiving that he is not lining up with his words, that is true for me. And it has now subtracted from the trust.
Yeah. So number 2 in ways to rebuild trust in your marriage is disclosure versus discovery. Discovery takes a lot of detective work. It takes a lot of, I need to investigate you. Let me look at your phone. Let me read your emails. And sometimes that is needed when another spouse is not being truthful and honest, or they have secrets that they're hiding. But let's talk about what disclosure looks like and how to rebuild trust in your marriage through disclosure. You know, for me, what it looked like is if I was leaving the house going somewhere, one is you could look at my phone and you could tell where I was. You had the ability to see my location. 2 is I would text her and let her know where I'm at, where I'm going, who I'm going to be with, all that kind of stuff. And you have the ability to see, oh, he is there, or he's going to this place. And so once again, I am making steps that would be disclosing what I'm doing versus you going, hey, where are you going?
Right. What
is it you're doing again? Because I thought you were going over to Tom's house, but I'm looking up on where you're at, and you're at the store or something, or at the mall. You know, it would not line up with what it is I said I was doing.
Yes. And the more a spouse has to go into discovery, the more the trust is being subtracted. Because if he is disclosing in advance what he's doing, there's no need for me to go in discovery. That builds the trust. That's a positive in trust. But if I am constantly having to discover what he's doing, where he's going, and all of those things, then it is going to take away from rebuilding that trust. And this is not just around betrayal. This is around any broken trust. Because if you have made some financial decisions that your spouse didn't agree with and it broke the trust in the marriage, then you need to be disclosing your finances to your spouse ahead of time, before your spouse has to go and investigate and discover what you're actually spending. And so I say spending, but this can go in any direction around trust.
It might be pornography. You know, that seems to be one of the biggest lies that Satan has in marriage right now that completely destroys intimacy and the ability to connect with our spouses. And it is an epidemic. But it might be pornography that messed up the trust in your marriage. And what that could look like is, you know what? I have some software put on my phone and every device that I have access to. I have an accountability partner that I can talk to them and we can have great conversation about, hey, I'm really struggling today in my lust, or maybe in my thoughts or fantasies. I'm really having a hard time. I can reach out to a buddy and say, hey, I really could use some prayer, maybe some conversation about this. And what's really great is your spouse, who is relying on you to be honest and relying on you to be able to be who it is you're committed to being. That really helps to rebuild trust when they know, hey, they have a software put on every device and they have a group of people they can contact and have communication with about this area that I really hope they don't dive back into.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's transparency that's important. And the more transparent you are about your actions, the more your spouse is going to trust you.
That's good. So number 3 is boundaries. One of the top 3 ways to really rebuild trust in your marriage is creating and sticking to the boundaries that you both agree on. Mm-hmm. You know, you both have an ability to say, hey, here's some guardrails that we really need in our marriage. Here's some boundaries we really need in our marriage. And that would be important. And I want to give you a story. You know the guardrails that they put up on like some major mountain highways where just over the edge is thousands of foot drops? You know, they really don't need that all the time. I have been able to make it around those driving around mountains without getting near the boundary or without falling over the edge. I've been able to do that. So they don't have to have them. But man, when the people get really close to those edges, it's really important. Mm-hmm. When you get really close to the edge of that mountain, it's really important to have that safeguard there. Same thing in our marriage, same thing in our lives. Having a boundary in advance is so important to whenever you're getting close to that edge, you're like, whoa, wait a minute.
I know it.
I need to back off of that. I need to come off of that because it's already outlined. It's already agreed upon. It's already there. So when you, as a man, when you're alone in a room and now a woman has come in my mind, I'm already thinking, how do I get out of this room? Mm-hmm. I want to be pleasant, but how do I make steps to get out of this room? It's a boundary.
Yeah, and we talk about boundaries and safeguards in our marriage transformation course because they are meant to keep the good in the marriage and keep the bad out. And prior to us having boundaries, we had 12 years of marriage with no boundaries, no safeguards. And neither one of us knew where that line was, and it got crossed many times. And so I can see now it is a positive thing for the marriage, but I used to see it as people who need boundaries obviously don't know what is important in a marriage. And I saw it as though it was going to keep us from enjoying life. But now I can see that this relationship is so sacred and so special to me. He's my one person that I have in this world that is my teammate and my best friend. And I want to protect that. And so it's really important that we have boundaries and safeguards to keep that good, amazing, intimate relationship safe from all of the things external.
Okay, so let's recap. The top 3 ways to rebuild trust in your marriage. Number 1, your actions line up with your words, doing what it is you say you're going to do. Be a person of integrity. Number 2, disclosure versus discovery. You know, really giving out what it is you're going to do instead of your spouse needing to be a detective and figure it out.
Also, check out our video all about disclosure and discovery.
Yes.
We'll put a link up in the top hand.
It'll be right there. It'll be right there or right there. Number 3, it's important to have boundaries in your marriage.
And you're going to want to check out next week's video where we dive into a little bit deeper. What are boundaries and safeguards, and what could you implement in your marriage that would really keep the good in and keep the bad out? Do you know another couple that's struggling in the area of trust? Go ahead and send them this video. You could be the very person that helps them have new insights into their relationship and how they can rebuild the trust inside their own marriage.
Hey guys, come over and chat with us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, all the places where the cool kids are. Come hang out with us and have conversations.
You can check us out at The Noble Marriage all across the platforms. We would love to get a chance to connect with you.
You may be like us and you've tried to find quality things on YouTube for you to watch as a family or maybe for your kids to watch. What's awesome is we have a new channel that Haven has started, and it is all about children and family adventures and this safe, fun things that kids can do, and you don't have to worry about anything that your kids are going to see or hear on her channel.
It's really good, clean fun for the whole family to enjoy. So go check out her channel. It's Adventures with Haven. So here's a little sneak peek of what's coming next week.
In this video, we're going to be talking about rebuilding trust with safeguards and boundaries.
Yeah, so what is the difference between a boundary and a safeguard? A boundary is this is where the line is and we do not cross it. A safeguard is something that protects us from getting close to the line. Yeah, because this relationship is sacred and it is the most unique and special relationship that we have on this earth. We have our teammate, our best friend, our partner to do life with. And so I want to keep the good in. I want to keep our intimacy at the best it can be, our connection.
Thank you for joining us, guys. Bye.
Fun, exciting adventures and
we go on trips, we've gone on things and stuff and whatchamacallits and whatnots.
So that your whole family can enjoy a fun, adventurous experience with on YouTube.
Bring your mom and dad, uncle and sister and auntie and cousin and mama's mama and daddy's dad and your cousin's sisters and